welcome to Enjoy English. I'm Alice.
Hello, I am Bernice.
And today in our Just So You Know unit, our topic is the unappetizing truth about airplane food. Why food in the clouds isn't so tasty. And tasty is something that we usually say when something is delicious or tastes good. But usually none of us say that airplane food is very tasty or delicious at all. And today we will find out why.
Unappetizing. We can also use another word, unpleasant. P-L-E-A-S-A-N-T or unattractive. U-N-A-T-T-R-A-C-T-I-V-E, which means you think that the airplane food, when you taste them, you think, oh, it feels awful. It feels terrible. It feels nasty. Totally spoils your appetite. So the other word for appetizing, the noun will be appetite. A-P-P-E-T-I-T-E.
So let's think about that and then get right into it.
Okay.
The unappetizing truth about airplane food. Airplane food has a bad reputation for being bland. A lot of people complain about their bad experiences when they eat on planes. However, it's not always the chef's fault, as serving food in the air has many limitations. In the sky, air pressure and humidity levels are different from those on the ground. This changes people's senses of smell and taste, so foods have less flavor. In order to solve this problem, many chefs add extra salt or spices to make meals taste better. Another surprising factor that can affect how our food tastes is the roaring sound of airplane engines. Studies have shown that some people thought their food to be less sweet and salty when they dine with loud noises in the background. Food preparation techniques also play a role in making airplane food less delicious. Since there is no room for kitchens on planes, all meals must be prepared on the ground. They are then packed, refrigerated, and reheated in the air. To deal with this, some airlines are experimenting with other cooking methods to make their food taste better. The next time you are flying and your food tastes a bit off, don't blame the airline. They're doing their best under these difficult situations.
Let's begin. Airplane food has a bad reputation for being bland. So food that is bland is usually just tasteless. It's not very flavorful, just tastes bad.
So reputation, another word will be the name. We can also use name. So has a bad name for something, which means you think something is really not so good for you.
A lot of people complain about their bad experiences when they eat on planes. And that's true. I definitely never have said that I liked airplane food at all. I think I usually say, oh, at least it wasn't too bad. But usually it's still kind of bad.
Especially if we take a very long trip on the plane, usually we will say, oh, okay, your food is okay. I can accept it.
Yeah.
But if you want me to say it's yummy or tasty or delicious,
However, it's not always the chef's fault, as serving food in the air has many limitations. So when you say it's someone's fault, that means the blame is on them, right? So usually if you go to a restaurant and the food tastes bad, you will blame the chef, right? Because the chef made the food. They cooked the food. But here it says that it's not always the chef's fault.
Yeah, so which means we shouldn't blame the blame the chef if the food is awful, okay? Because maybe that is because of something else to affect our appetite, okay? So fault also, we can use another word, mistake, M-I-S-T-A-K-E. And serving food in the air has many limitations because the reason is that there are lots of rules about how to serve food on board. We can also say on planes, we can also say another word, on board, B-O-A-R-D.
So let's digest that information and then come to paragraph 2.
Yes.
Time for paragraph 2. In the sky, air pressure and humidity levels are different from those on the ground. And that makes sense because we're very, very high in the air, thousands and thousands of miles up. And you might notice that the air pressure changes when your ears pop. People say that when you go up in the air, at a certain point, your ears feel like they pop because of the air pressure change.
Okay, so air pressure will be the weight of the atmosphere pressing down on the earth, okay? And the humidity will be how much water there is in the air. So the food and the drink, they taste different in the air compared to those on the ground. That's the meaning of this sentence.
This changes people's senses of smell and taste. So foods have less flavor, just like Bernice said, right? The food will taste different because our senses, right, our smell and our taste, are changed by the air pressure and humidity levels.
Yes, so the flavor becomes kind of influenced by the air pressure and the humidity in the air.
In order to solve this problem, many chefs add extra salt or spices to make meals taste better, right? So salts, spices, these things are things that chefs normally use in normal restaurants. However, in the air, maybe they will add extra salt and spices.
Because these in-flight experiences really affect our taste and the smell. So that's why many chefs, they are trying to do something to solve the problem. So what do? First, they have to add extra, which means more salt to make the food taste salty, and the spices, okay, to make the meals taste better. Maybe we taste better, but maybe we take too much salt as well.
That's true. Another surprising factor that can affect how our food tastes is the roaring sound of airplane engines, which is surprising to me because why would the sound of something affect how something tastes, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but we'll learn more in the next sentence.
Okay, so roaring, which means when we are in the airplane, we can hear the loud humming sound, okay, from the airplane, especially from the airplane engines. So these noises, this background noises, also can affect our taste and smell.
Studies have shown that some people thought their food to be less sweet and salty when they dined with loud noises in the background. Perhaps it might be because your senses are distracted by other sounds, so you cannot focus on how good something tastes or smells. That's my theory because these studies have shown that this is the case. So there must be some science to back it up.
Yeah, right. Okay, according to a study in 2010, as the plane gets higher and the air pressure drops and the humidity levels in the cabin also less than 12%, which is drier than most deserts. So that's why it affects our taste and our smell. So also the noise, because when we are eating surrounded by some noisy atmosphere, or you think that the place you think that is not so comfortable, so maybe it also affect our taste and smell.
So these are some of the reasons that we just learned. Let's think it out and then talk about paragraph 3.
Okay.
Okay, final paragraph. Food preparation techniques also play a role in making airplane food less delicious. So the techniques are kind of the ways that someone does something. So in this case, preparing the food, right? Or food preparation. Sometimes we call it food prep for short. So this also is a reason that airplane food might not taste so good.
Okay, so food preparation, which means how do the people, the chefs, prepare the in-flight food. Techniques, also we can use another two words. One is skills S-K-I-L-L. And another word will be method, M-E-T-H-O-D. Okay, play a role, which means also influence our taste of food because of food safety standards, because you have to follow some very strict and severe rules on planes.
Since there is no room for kitchens on planes, all meals must be prepared on the ground, which I suppose would mean that the meal is not as fresh as it might be in some restaurants, right? Because they have to make it before you even get on the plane, and they don't serve it right away on the plane. So by the time you get it, maybe it was made maybe 10 hours ago or something, right? So maybe it's not so fresh.
Yeah, that's true. Room right here will be an uncountable noun. So we can also use another word will be space because there's no space for chefs to prepare the food. So first thing, they have to prepare all the meals on the ground, not in the air.
They are then packed, refrigerated, and reheated in the air. So, right, they make it on the ground, then they pack it, refrigerate it so it doesn't go bad, and then they reheat it before they serve it to you.
So the second step will be, okay, first thing you have to prepare all the food on the ground. And second thing, you have to pack them. Okay, you have to refrigerate it, which means you have to freeze them. Okay, and then when put them in the air, you have to reheat them.
To deal with this, some airlines are experimenting with other cooking methods to make their food taste better. So, because I think airlines know that we don't all really like their food, so maybe they're trying to think of ways to make it taste better that, you know, probably don't cost too much, but also, right, they want to make it in a way that they're allowed to, because again, they can't make it in the air. So that's why they're experimenting with other ways.
Deal with something. We can also use cope with something, which means you try to solve the problems. Cope will be C-O-P-E. And be experimenting with something, which means people, they are trying something in order to discover more about something. So these chefs, okay, these cooks, they're trying their best to make the food taste better in the air.
The next time you're flying and your food tastes a bit off, don't blame the airline, because again, blaming them means that it's their fault, but as we just learned, maybe it's not 100% their fault or 100% in their control.
Okay, so let me explain this word blame, how to use that. First, we can use blame somebody for something. For example, we can say, don't blame the airline for the tasteless food, which means that's not their fault. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, we can use blame something on somebody. Okay, that's the second usage. Or the third usage will be put the blame on somebody. So when we use blame, try to use 3 different ways to practice this word.
They're doing their best under these difficult situations. And that's something that we say a lot. It's like, oh, they're trying their best or they're doing their best, right? So we know at least you're trying. So even if it isn't perfect, we shouldn't blame you because you are trying your best. And in this case, it's the airlines who are doing their best.
Do somebody's best. We can also use try somebody's best. To do something, for example, these students, they do their best to study hard, or they try their best to study hard. So it is a phrase that most of the students, you have to be familiar with. So this is the one. And when we say taste better, which means these chefs, they are trying to make the food taste not so bland. Okay, B-L-A-N-D. So these are the words you can use another way when you see a sentence in a magazine or from our magazine. You can try to use another way to explain this sentence. So which means you can try to use other words or other phrases. So it can make you think that English is not so difficult or not so boring to learn.
One thing that I learned from this article today is that it makes sense for me for something that I learned before was that apparently food in first class and business class on the airplane actually they don't taste that good either. I've never been. I assumed that they would have really delicious food, and I only got bad food because I was in economy class.
Oh, okay.
But I heard from people who have flown business and first class, and they also said that the food isn't that good. Maybe better than economy.
That's fair.
But yeah, but still not so good. And I realized that it's because of these extra factors. It's not because economy didn't pay so much, so the food you get is bad. It's also because of these extra reasons, right? All these different food preparation techniques and the different rules and limitations, they also cause first class and business class travelers to have not so great food either.
And also, after reading this paragraph, students, you can try to practice practice speaking something. For example, after reading this article, you can say, oh, okay, now I know why food in the air tastes not so good. That is, we cannot blame the chefs. That is because first, they have a lot of rules, serious rules they have to follow. They have to prepare their food on the ground, not in the air. That's the first thing. So maybe the food is not so fresh. And second thing, that is because they don't have enough room to prepare all the food. So they have to prepare on the ground and then pack and freeze the food and reheat it in the air. So that's why when we take the airplane, we think that the food is not so tasty.
And I was also wondering if, because they talked about how the sound of the airplane engines also affects how we taste our food. I was thinking, does that mean that if we wore earplugs while we were in the air, that the food would taste better?
So that's why when we go to the restaurant usually plays some soft music for the guests. So that's why we feel, oh, I feel so comfortable. I feel so soothing. So that's why I think the food is maybe delicious, but maybe not so delicious. But because of the background noise, because of the background music, makes you feel that the food is tasty.
Yeah, they don't play some loud rock music or something. It's usually soothing piano or classical music.
Right. That's true.
So that is all the time we have today. We will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.